بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. We'll just summarize what we did last week. We started on Tayammum and we defined what Tayammum is, and we mentioned the evidences for it. We mentioned the types of Tayammum and the conditions for it. Primarily we discussed about two specific things, which were the situations in which ablution, Tayammum is allowed, and we discussed the pillars. Just as revision, we'll discuss which situations the ablution is allowed. Number one, that the water is not available, and we discussed within what distance that will be considered not available. The second is that the water is available but not able to be used. So number one, it will cause an illness or worsen an illness. If you want me to talk slower, tell me if you're writing it down. Yes, you're good? Okay. The water is available but you are unable to reach it. We gave examples of that. The water is available but required for vital purposes such as drinking and cooking and removing impurities. There are further details and ikhtilaf between the madhahib in removing impurities. I won't go through it today. There is water. You can get to the water, but you can't take it out. There's no instrument to take the water out. So, like a well with no bucket. You're in a situation where the water is very cold, and if you used it, you fear illness. So, for example, someone's in the Arctic, Antarctica, Siberia, some really extreme places on Earth where it's very cold. Using water there will lead to sickness. Then we mentioned the pillars, and we mentioned that they were primarily the intention, because we said that Tayammum itself is intention, to intend, and that you used purifying sand, and we classified what kinds of things can be used for Tayammum. We then mentioned the components that are the pillars, that is wiping the face, wiping the arms to the elbows, and we said that Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal only included up to the wrist, and even for them it is sunnah to do up to the elbow. Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal have muwalah, which is continuity, which is not to take a break between the actions. So you did the face, immediately go on to do the arms, for them the hands. Imam Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal have the order, so the correct order is the face first and then the hands. And Imam Ahmad has the basmala as wajib. Someone asked before the class, can I do tayammum in the plane? Can I do wudu in the toilet? So you have to remember that doing wudu in a specific place, there are no restrictions at all. You can do wudu anywhere at all. There is no issue if you do wudu in the toilet, even if the toilet contains najasa. Okay? Because number one, the water itself must have the characteristics of being able to give you tahara. So that can't have najis in it, right? So if you're in a plane and you have a sink there, it doesn't matter that the commode is in the same small area. Okay? You can use the sink and you can do wudu. So someone said that I can't reach my feet all the way up to the sink, so therefore I will do tayammum. And the answer is no, you can't do that. You take a small cup. All planes have 1 million cups. You take a small cup, you fill that cup with water, you take your feet towards the drain or even close to the commode, and you wash your feet there. It's simple. So someone said, I have seen many Arab doing, tayammum in the plane. And they say that, it's difficult to do wudu, so we do tayammum. Seeing the actions of people is not itself an excuse. And that's not something that's... Those people doing it are doing it out of jahala, not even taking the fatwa of their own imams. So if you go to their own imams and ask them, they will say no. The only situation where you can do tayammum on the plane is where the plane is in a situation where they have insufficient water. There is only enough water for drinking. There's a technical fault in the plane, there's not enough water, then you can do tayammum. Otherwise, the planes carry a lot of water and sufficient for wudu of the entire plane. There's not an excuse. So other people have said that it's hard to go in there and get tahara of the clothes. I said, well, you go there, behind the door there's actually a hook. You can take your clothes off, gain tahara of your clothes. No issues at all. Okay? So people, if you want to find excuse out of laziness, you will find a million excuses. When you go to the imams, they will say that the situation in the plane does not meet the criteria for the tayammum. Now, I'm not trying to make things hard for you. I'm actually trying to make things easy for you. Why? Because for those people, I will say to them that they did that, they have to repeat the prayer. Is that harder or easier? That's harder. They have to now repeat the whole prayer. Do the wudu correctly, gain your tahara correctly, pray once, you don't have to pray it again because you did it incorrectly. Okay? So when you learn fiqh, your life is easier, not harder. You have to have iman that the deen makes the life easier, not harder. The moment you find that everything in the religion is hard, of course everything will be hard. You know, there's no way that anyone can convince you there is ease. Sorry? Wear the khuf, okay, that's it, jazakallah khair. Wear the khuf, and then you can just do masah while you're traveling. And really, it is for those kinds of situations, you know. It's the ease of it. And that's why the khuf is allowed for 3 days in traveling, because there is further hardship in traveling. So we take, you know, what the deen can give us, and we do that. Don't try and find your own deen, your own version of your deen. Okay, today we'll move forward and we'll start with the sunnah-based practices. The first 3 sunnahs are all what we mentioned last week that are fara'id in the other madhahib. Okay? So the basmala, to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim before tayammum. We mentioned in wudu and how to do this. The second is the order is a sunnah. And we mentioned this already. The third is muwalah, continuity, is a sunnah. The third is to strike with the palms of the hand. So you have whatever you are doing tayammum with. So for the rest of the class, I'm going to use sand as an example. I don't want to keep, explaining that. So you're using sand for your tayammum. To strike with the palms of the hands is a sunnah. To move the hands back and forth, to hold the fingers apart so that the dust is getting in between the fingers. Then a person, when he does the tayammum, he strikes the earth. He will not do this, as we mentioned last week, but what he will do is he will go like this. What he doesn't want is bits of sand coming on him. The purpose is to do tayammum, which is imitating the act of purification. What you don't want to do is put it on wet soil, get large chunks of wet soil, and then rub it all over your face. That's not the purpose of tayammum. Is the beard a part of the face or not? Yes? You all say it is yes? Okay. And what did I say in wudu, that you have to do the beard or not? Yes. Yes? Yes? No? You said yes. Okay. So we said the ikhtilaf was Imam Shafi'i says that this has to be part of the face. Okay? And the others say that it is up to the chin. Interestingly, in tayammum, that even Malik and Ahmad bin Hanbal say the beard has to be part of the tayammum. So you will we'll come to how to do the actual actions. I'll demonstrate it. We talked about removing the rings, and just like the wudu, the right before the left. Okay? We'll do the undesirable, and then I'll act it out. So the undesirable in the wudu is to wipe more than once. In Tayammum, you do the actions only once. As you know that Imam Shafi'i has 3 for everything when he does wudu. Right? Even the hair he does 3 times. And I searched to see what his statement was on Tayammum, and I did not find anything different to 1. Have you heard of anything different? So it is, the Tayammum for everyone is only wiping once and is easy to remember. So for those who are online, they won't see, but inshallah you can see how you do it. So you have struck the sand, and you moved it back and forth, and you had your fingers spread like that. Then you shook it, and you covered the face. It's done. Okay? Then you struck it a second time. This is a sunnah. It's not necessary according to everyone. For the Hanafis, it's recommended sunnah that you do this. Again, you moved it back and forth. Again, you shaked it. There is no particular method to do the arms. And we don't find from the Sunnah particular descriptions of how to do it. But I found in the Shafi'i books and also in the Hanafi books the same method. So from our Salaf, this is how they have described it. To take the left hand, the fingers of the left hand, and go to the back of the hand. Okay? You come all the way to the elbows and you turn around, and now you use the palm of the hands to do the front part. The only part that was missed was the thumb, because when you did this, you covered like this. Can you see this? You covered like that. So you didn't do the thumb. So you come with this part of the thumb and you go like this. Then you took the right hand and you went like this. You went around, the palms on the front, and you came and did the thumbs. Okay. Now the whole point of all of this is to cover the area. Alright? So if, for example, someone did like this, okay, you know, it covers the area, the tayammum is still done. What we said that you should not do is when you put the tayammum, don't rub everything off, clear it all off, and then do that. You can't do that, because then the tayammum will be invalid. Everyone understood the technique? But the main thing to understand is even if you forgot the technique, the point is to cover the area. No, you shake your hands off like this. You don't clap.
So after wiping the face, we have to do again?
Yes.
For the hands?
Yes. This is in the Hanafis. Okay, not the others.
In the shirt,
they have like
soft,
this.
soft.
Yes, soft. Okay.
So shaking is part of
Shaking is sunnah. Yeah.
You do it once, yeah?
Once. Yeah, once like this. Once, as I said, once like this, put it on the face. Once on the sand. Right arm with the left hand. Sorry, right hand. Left. Yeah. That's it. Once. Okay. Now, so Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal has the mouth and the nose as a fard in the mouth. But he specifically mentions that you don't do the mouth and the nose as for tayammum. Why? Because you can't do it. Similarly, the other parts of the body are not a sunnah. The fuqaha were very specific. They did not leave things to imagination. Okay, so they're very specific. Even though for us it makes logical sense that you don't do the mouth, someone or the other asked them, they gave an answer for it. Okay? And for many things, nobody asked the question, they mentioned the ruling even without the question, because what their job was. And when you study fiqh, what you realize is the Sahaba used to ask very, very few questions. They used to wait for someone to come and ask a question, then they would learn. Okay? Because that's how they were trained. After the period of the Sahaba, and when Islam went into Persia and Iraq and Egypt and other places, other people from other nations became Muslims who were used to asking questions. Then in the era of the Tabi'een, the study of fiqh became more and more refined. They got more and more, rulings derived from the original rulings. So they didn't leave anything, alhamdulillah. Okay, number 8, that which invalidates the tayammum. The hadith, minor or major, everything that invalidates the wudu or causes the janaba will invalidate the tayammum. One thing to remember is that if someone is in the state of janaba and he did not have water and he did tayammum, he is now out of janaba. So when his tayammum is broken, let's say he urinated, then he does not go back to janaba. He goes into the state of minor hadath, not major hadath. You understand this? Okay, so the tayammum takes him out as if he has done ghusl. Imam Malik has a specific statement here, is that someone who has in the state of janaba or came out of menstruation and does tayammum because he has no water, he still cannot have intercourse. That is only him who says that. The others do not agree with that statement. So they allow everything that would be allowed from ghusl. If water becomes available again, this invalidates the tayammum. Now there are multiple scenarios. I have done tayammum and I have not started praying. Can I pray and I see the water? Answer is no. The tayammum is broken. I now have to make wudu and then I will pray after that. After you found the water. Similarly, if all the other 4 situations we said that water is available but you can't use it, if those situations became resolved, then the tayammum is broken and now you have to do a proper wudu. Yes? Okay, yeah, I'm coming to that. First situation was you have not started the prayer. The second situation is you have completed the prayer. According to everyone, the prayer will not be repeated. Imam al-Shafi has a specific situation that if someone is in the urban scenario and that kind of tayammum is rare, needing tayammum in a city is rare. According to him, he says the prayer will be repeated. Okay? In Umdat al-Salik, this is mentioned in detail, and at the end of the detail they mention that the Hanafis say the prayer does not require to be repeated. So if someone lives in a city and that city is in a desert and rarely has water, so they do tayammum all year round, they are allowed to take the Hanafi position. But by and large, that is the position of the Shafi'i madhab. That's the 2 easy situations. The second situation is if the prayer has started. Okay, then you will break the prayer and do wudu. So you are in the prayer, and now you remember, oh my God, I had a whole bottle of water in my bag. Because shaitan will remind you right then. Okay? That's the job of shaitan, destroy your prayer. Then you will break the prayer and you will do a proper wudu. Imam Malik says that you will finish the prayer. Okay? So, for certain things they have differences. If you want to remember it simply, you saw the water before the prayer, go do wudu. If you saw the water during the prayer, go and do wudu. If you saw the water after the prayer, your prayer is valid except if you are Shafi'i. Yes?
So you need to finish and repeat the prayer for Imam Malik?
For Imam Malik, no. Imam Malik says that you start the prayer, then your prayer is valid. It's not repeated.
Like, I have a question.
Yes.
Say, if you are in Mataf area,
Yep.
close to Haram,
Mm-hmm.
and you think that your wudu is broken, and
Yes.
the Namaz is going to start.
Mm-hmm.
So do the wudu, you have to go back all the rows, or maybe you have to leave the Haram and go out of the masjid, because they don't allow you.
That's my next question, point number 9. If the time is short, they all have different opinions. We'll go through that right now. Okay. I'll do Hanafis last because they are the most complex. Okay. The Shafis say that you cannot join the prayer if there is water available, even if that means that prayer will be qada. Okay. There's 5 minutes left for Fajr. You think if you go and do wudu, you will not catch the Fajr prayer. The Shafi'is say you still have to do a proper wudu and you pray even after it's the time. Okay? The opposite of that is the Hanbalis, who say that tayammum is allowed in that kind of circumstance. That if the allowed time will run out due to accessing the water, then the tayammum is allowed. But I said that this is if the time is running out, not if the jama'ah is going to be lost. Okay? The specific scenario, the detail is, you have 5 minutes left for the prayer time to finish. If you go to the toilet and do wudu and come back, then you will not be able to get the prayer. Then in that situation, the tayammum is allowed for the Hanbalis. Imam Malik is the same as the Hanbalis, except Imam Malik is the same as the Shafi'is, except he allows it for Jumu'ah. Because if the person does not catch the Jumu'ah, he will lose the Jumu'ah. Right? The Hanafis are the most complex. The Hanafis are like the Shafi'is. They say that if the time is running out, you cannot use tayammum. They allow it for two specific situations. One is the funeral prayer, and the second is the Eid prayer. They don't allow it for the Jama'ah, they don't allow it for Jumu'ah. Okay? So, if you want to remember one thing, okay, because it's hard to remember all the rulings, the specific ruling is if the time is running out, you can't do tayammum, you have to go and do wudu. That will cover most of the things. There are conditions for each of the different madhahib. The last thing to discuss today, and we will stop with this and then do questions, is faqid as-sabilain, the person who does not have water and he does not find the material to do tayammum. Okay? This kind of situation is extremely rare. But the fuqaha have even discussed what to do in this kind of situation. All four of them have different statements on this. It's hard to remember. So let's start. Most people here are Shafi'is. Let's start with Shafi'is. The Shafi'is say that you will pray a full, complete, normal prayer, but only reading the Fatiha. You do not add a surah to the Fatiha. So you pray the Isha, you only do the Fatiha in all day for ruku'. Right? Raka'at, sorry. However, the prayer is made up later when you find the sabil to gain tahara. So you keep a record of how many prayers you are praying like this, and you will make them up later. The Hanafis say, similar to the Shafi'is, that the prayer will be made up later, but you pray a symbolic prayer, which means that you get up and you stand and you do ruku and you do sujood and all of those things, but you don't read anything and you don't do any adhkar. That is only to keep a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you go through the motions of ibadah and you make up that prayer later. Okay? The Malikis say, they're the easiest. They say that the person should not pray and he does not have to make it up later, which surprised me, but that was their ruling. It was surprising because all of the four madhahib say that if the person, did not pray intentionally, or he forgot the prayer, or he slept, all four of them say that all of those situations you have to make up the prayer later. But here is one situation where Imam Malik says that he has no sabil for tahara, he will not pray and he does not make it up later. The Hanbalis are also the same. The prayer is not made up later, but he will pray a complete prayer with the Fatiha, with the surah. So you can see they're all different. So two of them say, the Shafi'is, the Hanafis say the prayer will be made up later. The Hanbalis and the Malikis say the prayer will not be made up later.
Didn't the Hanbalis do they pray a normal prayer?
They pray a complete normal prayer.
And no qada?
No qada. The Malikis say no prayer, no qada. When I read this, I was amazed. It's from the very, very rare situations. So if you don't remember it, then no issue, inshallah.
Would that apply with if somebody is like completely like the clouds in the body, for example, if he falls in a najasa somewhere and he's got nothing to remove there?
Okay. The Hanafis allow the person to pray with the najasa on his clothes if he has absolutely no alternative. Okay? The Shafi'is, what I read, and you can correct me, but this is what I read, was that he will pray without clothes if he has no alternative. Okay? But, this is, I looked into the situation because I thought I'll get asked this. And so, it is mentioned in the books of the Shafi'is that particularly if the situation is that the water is only sufficient for either tahara or removing the najasa, then he will do the wudu with the water. He won't prioritize cleaning the najasa, and he will pray without the clothes. And Allahu Alam. But as I said, this kind of situation will also be uncommon. Usually you have alternative clothes. You can ask clothes from someone. You can get a bed sheet or a towel, take off the clothes that have a najasa, wear something that covers the minimal area. Yes?
I was just thinking the Maliki madhab, if you can make tayammum on anything including ice, it's like I can't picture a situation where you won't be able to make tayammum.
Exactly, yeah. They even allow metal. Right?
Yeah.
So, the situation where this might come up is a person's in jail, right? And he has it's made of cement, and he has nothing, but at least he has the bars. They're made of metal generally, right? An unusual situation can be someone who is normal, and he gets arrested, and they consider him to be insane. So he gets thrown in a psychiatric ward, and the entire ward is made up, and the entire place is made up of textile, so he can't harm himself. Even the door, there's no doorknob, so he has nothing, nothing at all that he can make. So there is possibility of the situation. So the fuqaha did not leave it. Yeah, but as you're right, the Malikis would find it very difficult to be in a situation where they can't do tayammum because they have the largest possibility of items they can use.
So in the case of when the four imams differ each other,
Yes.
am I free for anyone to follow?
Yeah, look, this question has been asked many times, and you can see that they are different in many things, and there's two options here, right? One is that a person knows and understands the evidences of why they did things, okay? Then he is in a position where he can choose, all right? But there are conditions to that. 99.999% of people do not know the evidence. Why did Imam Malik say this? Why did he say this? What is the linguistic meaning of Sa'idan Tayyiban? Okay? For him, he cannot choose, simply. Because when he chooses, what will be the basis for him choosing? Let me ask you that. And the answer is that he will choose whatever is easiest for him. And that is fasad in the deen. Okay? Because you don't really understand why you are choosing this or that or the other. Okay? So, number one, part of the reason I keep saying is that I mentioned the four fuqaha is that, he's Hanafi, he's Shafi, he's Maliki. We have different madhahib here, so I have to explain the different ones. For me, it is much easier that I explain just the Hanafi or just the Shafis. Much easier. I can just remember one thing. For each madhab, I have to go to 3 or 4 books. So for me, it's quadruple 4 times the work, right? So it's just very easy, just learn Shafi and that's it. But I'm teaching you all the 4 madhahib so that you can learn. Somalis are generally Shafis. You can learn what is my madhab, what should I be doing in my situation, and you just do that. Part of the reason you need to know some of the other things is that you live in Sydney, alhamdulillah, and we have people doing different things. So if you see, mashallah, we have some Maliki brothers, they pray with their hands down. I say, okay, according to Imam Malik, it's not something that is necessary. For us, even for us, it's a sunnah. Okay, so you can learn tolerance, because that's what we need in our times. So the short answer is, don't pick and choose. Only an alim who understands the evidences can pick and choose, with some conditions. We'll stop here, inshallah. Next week we have miscellaneous things, and then after that, if you wish, we can go on to the fiqh of prayer, and if you wish to do something else,